Okay, so chapter 2.1 is dealing with organizing qualitative data sets. Okay, when your data set is categorical data set, how we can organize using charts and graph. So to talk about this case, we'll be using one of the textbook example, 2.13, and it is the survey question to ask college students, how often do you wear a seat belt when somebody else is driving? The data set, actually summarized version of data set, is available on your textbook, and then StatCrunch, which is the software that comes with your textbook already. So using those data set, we'll talk about charts, which is we're going to use a relative frequency table, and we're going to talk about two different graphs, bar graph and pie chart. Okay. To do so, I first want us to go um, for your Blackboard. In Blackboard, I actually give you the link to the textbook data. So if you just click that one, will actually take you to the list of the uh, data set you can actually find from for the textbook. So we're talking about chapter 2, and the very first one is 2.2 on the line on the line 1 on the line 13, so whatever. So you just click that one, and then it will automatically start your StatCrunch with this data set. So again, this is actually summarized version of the data set. So out of how many 4,000 some people, 125 people said they never wear the seatbelt, and 325 said rarely, sometimes, most of the time, and always. Yes, that's what the answer is. If it is not a summarized data set, you'll probably see that never, 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 like 125 times, and then rarely, rarely, rarely about 324 times, and so on and so on. This one is in a way already kind of frequency table type of things given it to you. If you wanna, from this frequency table, if you wanna do the relative frequency table, which means you will just calculate the percentage of them, which means 125 over whatever the total number is, and 324 over whatever the total number is. So you can actually do that, or you can actually calculate that here, or you can actually use the option called table, and the frequency option probably aren't going to work because we only have a summarized data set. So contingency table with summary data set will actually do it for you. So you do that, and your column will be frequency, and your row label will be actually response. And then you will just say, I want the percent of the total. And then you click compute. And there are a lot of other things that you don't need to worry about, but you see that there are some percentage calculated for you. So 125 out of the total number, 4,776, which is 2.62% and 6.78%, and so on and so on. Okay, so that's a contingency table, or frequency, relative frequency table. You can call it either way. So that's the table that we generated. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw a couple of graphs for you. So graph is under graph option. We will do the bar chart, bar plot, bar chart, bar graph, all the same thing. We're gonna, again, we still have a summary data set. So we're gonna click bar plot with summary. You click that, the category variables are available in your column name response, and the count is under frequency. So you do that, and you want to actually want to use the relative frequency or percent, about the same thing. Do that, and let's just actually draw it, and it will generate a bar graph for us. So this is the bar graph. You see that always, most of the time, never responds, never and rarely and sometimes. So what are you noticing from this x-axis? it is organized in a way that it is alphabetical order, always comes first, and then sometimes goes the last. Is that the best graph that you can come up with? Well, sometimes it might be actually what you wanted, but for this particular case, um, this never, rarely, sometimes, most of the time, and always is not necessarily nominal, but it actually had some older meaning, right? Never is the smallest, I guess, and then rarely, sometimes, and then always is the most frequently students who are wearing seatbelt. So you probably want to keep that order for that, the graph will actually give you a little bit better information. So instead of doing that, I'll go back to graph and click bar chart one more time with summary. Everything will be same. Your response will be category. Your count is under frequency column. And then I'm going to use the relative frequency here. So order rather than value ascending, which means alphabetical order, I'm gonna actually use the order of that the worksheet has. So has a never, rarely, sometimes, most of the times, and always in that order. So I'm gonna click the work order and then compute. You're gonna have that. Okay, so this one you can see that if you go this direction, that's that students are not wearing seatbelts, and for this direction, students are wearing more frequently, wear the seatbelt more frequently. So looking at that, you can probably have a better picture that most of the college students are wearing seatbelt all the time, most of the time, or something like that, right? So that's something that you want to think about when you're drawing a bar chart. One other thing that we're going to do is pie chart. Bar chart has a bar and pie chart has pie in a way. So it has a pie shape, of a round shape. Instead of bar shape, we will have a pie shape. So still our data set ends with summary. Same thing, response and frequency. And I want to still use percent of the total. And then I want actually worksheet order as well. So if I compute it, then you will have this uh, pie chart. Always, most of the time, sometimes, rarely, and never. So that's a pie chart that is drawn for you. Okay, so those things are the ones that you will do some basics of qualitative data summarization. And obviously, there are other slightly different versions of it. Um, Sometimes you might have two different things going on. So side by side, you probably can do it. Sometimes you have like a different categories inside of one categories, then you probably will need the side by side bar chart and so on. But you can read a little bit more in your textbook as well. But that's a basic of bar chart and pie chart. So before we move on, I want to show you one more thing. So one of the example, this is one of the pictures I took years ago when my son is really young. Can you see what he does there? This is exactly what the 3D bar chart is, a bar graph, but it's a 3D because it's a cereal boxes. So I thought that's one of the fun things, cute things that you can even kind of imagine what kind of bar chart you would use in the real life. Okay.